EM Weekly starting right now, bringing emergency managers from around the world together to learn, share and collaborate.
Welcome to the EM Weekly / student combined Christmas extravaganza. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, look at those graphics. Good morning.
It's like a light show going on. Love your hat, man.
Don't trigger somebody's epilepsy.
It's got the grumpy Christmas hat on. That's freaking fantastic.
Well, that explains my morning. I'm telling you that. We're 10 minutes late because of technology, which, technology is great until it's not. So,
oh man, speaking of technology, maybe we'll go through so today is a little light show. If you guys can't tell already, we're gonna have fun with this holiday I can't even say it. I can't even say the word because I'm so excited about this. So we're going to be celebrating Christmas, a late Hanukkah, I suppose, Festivus for the rest of us, winter solstice, Kwanzaa. I don't know. Add in whatever holiday that you feel like you're celebrating here during this holiday season, because it's not about what you celebrate. It's about having a great end of the year for emergency management after this crappy 2020. And hopefully the 2021 will I don't know, be much better. So just a quick recap. We're going to do a recap show at the end of the year like we normally do. But we what could we have that adds to the fun? We decided that we're going to have a volcano as well going on. So we've had hurricanes, fires, floods, pestilence, and a volcano. We have
giant grasshoppers.
Pestilence, yeah. And plague. Yeah. You know what just think about that. Think about the Pharaoh was going through back in the day. That's what are we going through the same thing? I don't know. Depends if
he brought it on himself.
He did. Let my people go.
I don't know who you listen to, but
that's what Moses said. So the grumpy eye. So okay, so this is what this is. We're going to talk about what can Santa Brian bring us. And Brian, if you guys don't know, he's the producer of the show. He's in the back. He says he won't come on the radio, on the air, but maybe we'll shame him into doing so. But I don't know. He doesn't have any shame sometimes. I'm looking at him right now. So Dan, is he going to do it? You might come on the air. So Dan, what are some of the Christmas gifts that emergency managers probably should ask for from their family and friends and loved ones? And hi, Eileen. I love the hat.
Well, I think it depends on where you're at in your career as far as what's going to be on your Christmas list this year. Top of the list for some would be retirement. So that's can you bring retirement, early retirement, and others it may be a new career. Depending on where you're at and how much you really want to be in emergency management. For others, it may be more experience as we're experiencing this year. If one thing I've said is that we've been, this whole year, if one thing is done is bring a great experience, and there's no emergency manager, no matter how tired they are right now, will be able to look back on this year and say that it was boring. and say that nobody understood what they did and why they did it and why it was important. So those are just the mental Christmas list that I could think of. Of course, on top of everybody's real Christmas list of emergency managers, a brand new spanking EOC capabilities with funding and a budget with a nice silver bow on top to start the new 2021.
Oh yeah, I would say for sure on the Christmas list for most emergency managers would be funding, right? The budget for sure, saying, hey, and they coming over and saying, guess what? We're going to give you a budget and we're going to give you a staff to do the job, right? I think
a team.
What was that?
A team. That'd be on the top of my list right now, as a team of people to help you do the job. When it's not just in most places across the country, it's you're single, right? It's a one person shop. It's a one person wears many hats. Doing all the job where other duties assigned. those who have teams don't really. I mean, I hope they understand how lucky they are to be in the emergency management profession with a support team to help them throughout these situations.
Absolutely. I thought you said you wanted. I thought you said you wanted a bikini. I was like,
Oh well, you don't want to see this in a bikini. I tell you that.
I was like, wow, okay, that's interesting request. But yeah, no, definitely a team. And then the budget part
For
of it.
everybody out there though, with Todd, if he's on the beach, it looks like he's wearing a sweater. Just so everybody understands. At least with me, you get some skin. With him, it looks like he's wearing a sweater outside. So
oh no. Now, Eileen, this is supposed to be a fun show today, and she puts in there bark beetles hit the forest in the West Coast added to the fires, so they can count on. So
that's locust. There you go.
That's true.
They can count as locust. True. I tell you what, man, this year it's been, we've been doing, and for those who have been watching our shows, you see all these different initiatives that we're doing and groups we belong to, and talks that we're giving, and that's been one of the biggest topics of all the talks and all the communication is 2020 has been a bad year. 2021, it isn't like it's going to be a clean slate. We're going right into 2021. Everything magically is better. Everything's nice. Gone.
That's my Christmas.
Yeah. Well, we hope, right? We hope 2021 brings with so many. We're hoping a brighter sun and cooler breeze, but we're still in COVID and we're still recovering, and we got years and years to deal with this crap.
So when I wake up on New Year's Day, watching the Rose Bowl parade would be the real one, and the weather would be great, and there's no politics in sports, and the sun is shining, and COVID goes away. That's not going to happen.
Not going to happen, buddy.
Sorry. What do you want
did I just ruin 2021?
You did.
Did I?
You did. I really had the hopes that was going to happen. Like, I wake up.
I'm sorry.
Eat some pozole for breakfast, and
well, you can still do all those things, but the world's still going to be in midst of COVID.
Yeah,
this is Casey.
It is. I think it'd be very interesting to see what history books say about. Oh, absolutely. I'm like a big history buff anyway. And I've been reading for years. I mean, all about what happened in 1918. I've been fascinated with what they're doing, and I really think we're paralleling a lot on that goes. So we'll put that on your Christmas list of the book about 1918, or maybe you can write the history, Eileen, about that. What do you want for Christmas, Eileen? What would you like for your holiday season here? Santa Brian's in the other room, and he's going to give everybody their wishes. So, put on your list over here in the comments on what you'd like to have for your holiday season. Steve Kerr's out there. I know he is. And I know it's going to be a late Hanukkah for you, but we can bring you a late Hanukkah gift too, for that matter. So we'll add Steve into that as well. So Santa, grumpy Santa over here, because you actually have the beard and starting to look a little like that. What else do you think we should bring emergency managers for Christmas? Outside of the new AC, I think a new like state of the art emergency response like vehicle. Not necessarily, you know what I mean? Like with your command post type stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a good toy to have. I mean, everybody likes toys, especially in emergency management, emergency response. But I think we need more. Non-tactical looking uniforms. We should give everybody a suit. Give everybody instead of tactical pants, a tactical casual. Give everybody slacks and a nice shirt and maybe some ties. Remember, we want to change the look of the EM profession. Not so much tactical casual, more investment looking. I'm gonna start wearing ties next year, just so everybody knows.
I'm too fat for ties. I have to lose about 30 pounds or so.
I'm still I'm on the cusp. I'm on the cusp, but I'm gonna start wearing ties.
Or tie, my face goes up. But I probably should lose weight anyway. Keith says, "Happy holidays to Todd and Casey." I'm not sure, Keith. I'm not sure who Casey is, but happy holiday to Casey as well. Or Daniel, or maybe Casey's out there too.
I think we should have Eileen on the show.
I think so too. Keith Harrison, one of my favorite people to talk to in the entire world. He is old school emergency manager, gets things done. Awesome dude. If you guys don't know Keith, you should connect with him. He's on it. He's coming to us from Facebook today. Awesome dude. Happy holidays, Keith. So, okay, I'm just reading Eileen's managers who understand the importance of preparedness for me. Yeah, no, you're right. I think preparedness is the way to go, right?
That could be very close to the top of the list.
That's for
But
sure.
that can relate to us too. Educating them and being part of that solution. I think COVID-19 2020 will definitely I've said it's brought lots of positive things. And one of those positive things is it's brought light to the position, and it's brought light to the individuals who are supposed to be in the position, and making sure that those who are in that position are qualified individuals that could do the job. And one of the things that we've done, if you watch my show much, is we brought on North Dakota State University, which has one of the best systems for emergency management, but their training, they have the minor. And I think we should be pushing more of that around the country. Is doesn't matter what industry you go into, there's a minor, there's an understanding of emergency management. That would be, you go into, if you want to be a doctor, you know what emergency management is. A nurse, you know what emergency management is. Construction, you know what emergency management is. These are, all these different industries. It would be a great way to push and make people understand what emergency management is, why it's important, and how they can support the overall goal of what we do.
I think that if you're going into public administration, if you want to be a city manager, a mayor, whatever, anything that's doing with public policy groups, has to have classes in emergency management and understand it, because I think that's 90% of our problem that we have in our field is you have leaders in positions that do not understand what an emergency manager is. It really does. And that's when you get this, like I think I've told you guys this before, but in the city that I used to live in, the emergency manager was in the HR department. Not even part of, and I guess it made sense because HR was in charge of risk, right? Risk and safety. And so I guess they just threw them in there because it just seemed like a place to put them, and they haven't changed it. So all over the place where emergency management can be. But if the administration understands what emergency managers are, and we go back to the funding, maybe they'll get properly funded for what we're doing. And, it goes back into preparedness, right? How do we prepare our communities? And then how do we prepare our communities without a budget? So,
that's one of the things too I've seen this year, and I've talked to you. I've actually, me and you, I know we have had conversations about this, and I'm seeing it more and more, and it just goes to show there's still such a wide misunderstanding of what emergency management is and why it's so important. Is they're combining the job with like right now, what I'm seeing the most right now is jobs that are going out, and in the description of what the job is, it's OSHA, it's ADA, and it's which is great. Emergency managers should know these things, but that's not what an emergency manager does. So environmental health and safety, emergency managers should know that stuff, but that's not what they're going to do every day. And they're combining these positions to make emergency management, environmental health and safety, risk management, safety compliance, and they're mixing them in together. And these are full-time jobs that they're putting together. I mean, there's people out there that's what they do full time, and then they're putting these jobs and expecting one person to do all of these things. And what they're doing is they're really, even if they hire somebody, which their heart may be in the right place, they hire somebody to do that, but they're limiting the potential of the position, the potential of the individual, because their attention is split by so much that their attention to detail and their attention to the things they need to be paying attention to, they don't get to spend that time, and it does affect the quality of the individual in the job because they're not getting to do the job.
Absolutely. Hey, speaking of holiday gifts, one of the things that I got some people is some gear. And as you guys know, we're sponsored by Vanquest bags, and Vanquest bags is one of the things I bought some people this year, and I got to use the 20% EM Weekly discount, EM5 Weekly, I should say, EM5 Weekly discount because it changed. And so yeah, so go to vanquest.com, buy a bag or two, put in the EM5 Weekly at the checkout, and get additional discounts off of the already offered discounts that are there. So I think you guys should go and do that today.
Seconds count during an emergency. That's why at Titan HST, we're always inventing new technology to help people stay safe and help people who can provide help get connected with people who need help. At Titan HST, we've deployed mesh networking, allowing emergency communication even when networks are down, augmented reality, and real-time translation. We believe in the power of people to help each other stay safe and thrive.
The Outer Limits Supply Company was founded on the idea of providing high-quality first aid kits. Their goal is to supply the life-saving equipment you'll need to mitigate the majority of injuries often seen during austere times. From minor injury on an outdoor adventure with your family to your team responding to a major traumatic event, Outer Limits Supply has the kits to manage most situations, providing practical, user-friendly first aid kits that anyone can use. Enter EM Weekly, all capitals, at checkout and save 20% off your total purchase. Go to www.outerlimitsupply.com today. That's outerlimitsupply.com. Thank you so much for listening to those sponsors, and please reach out to them. Let them know that we sent you, because without them, we could not bring the grumpy hat Santa over there like we do today. So, more Christmas gifts ideas. Yeah, absolutely.
Seat at the table.
Seat at the table. That is you're right. I think that's the thing. I'll tell you a quick story about that. So, a good friend of mine is an emergency manager. I won't say where. And so they're going through, the pod stuff, right? Because they're a pod site. He's been in contact a little bit with the county health department, because they're kind of operating it, but they're using their property, and they kind of went around him a little bit. Went to some of the leadership. Leadership starts freaking out about it. Puts together this conference call, and lo and behold, he doesn't get the invite to be on the conference call. And then they're like, "Hey, where's this particular person? Why isn't he on this conference call?" And because his boss didn't think it was necessary for him to be on the call, and he's going to be the guy who's going to be responsible for running this entire thing from their perspective. And it's just like, and he's a director. He's not even like even like, he's not a coordinator position, or his title's director. So he has a good title, but yeah, they just went around him. The seat at the table is important, and that's another thing too. Moving the emergency manager around and who they report to. I think that the emergency manager should be reporting to the highest official. So if you're at a city, should be reporting to the city manager, or in some cases, like say Los Angeles or larger New York City, which I think they do in New York, but reporting to the mayor directly, not around. What do you think of that, Daniel?
I agree with you 100%. I mean, in doing that too, you actually improve and increase the level of the individual that you're getting in the position. When they have an equal footing as same as the fire chief and the police chief, and they have influence and leadership and budgeting and direct communication with those who make decisions, that you're not going to be able to beat an EM program that has that capability, that has that type of buy-in and program management.
I want an emergency management side by side, like the Razor or the Rhino. That's what I want.
Well, I don't disagree. I think it's, when I was in Waco, that's the way it was at one point. It was, they all were equal. I mean, there was the emergency manager, there was the There was the police chief, and then there was the fire chief. And then through time, you could see someone who doesn't really understand it say, "Oh well, why is the emergency manager not reporting to the fire chief?" Well, then you just put another layer between emergency management and city management. And sometimes especially when the individuals that you're reporting to don't understand their importance, or they don't find it themselves, because there's a lot of people out there who work in the response profession who don't believe emergency management is a valuable asset. They think response is where it's at. So they'll do everything they can to limit and put their thumb on and many times humiliate people because they feel like their position, it means more than emergency manager position. And it's just not the case. But in more, what I'm seeing more than that is they're not even answering directly to the chief. They're answering to a captain in some cases, or a lieutenant in the police department, or people that don't understand emergency management. It's hard to really do your job when the people you answer to, who answer to someone else, lose, you lose the communication, you lose the understanding, you lose momentum. And I've had it both ways. I've had it where when I first started, I had many layers, and but I learned that through my time, and as I learned and as I built my knowledge of it, I had to be answering to the people at the top, the people that made the decisions. And so that's where I worked my road to, where I was answering to the vice presidents and the president.
See, one of the problems with that, I mean, with being that down, right, is that if you have to go around legal, I'm not even trying to like submarine somebody, but you have to go around them. So, for instance, like when Brock Long was reporting directly to the president, during a couple of the hurricanes that came through, and he really burnt his bridge with his boss, who is the Secretary of DHS, right? Or Homeland Security, I should say. So that caused the problem between those two. You know what I mean? And she didn't want to see him go directly to the president, but the president requested it, but it caused that friction. And so yeah, if that happens, that friction causes. Now you have to do the whole. I'm sorry, mea culpa, building those bridges back with your boss, because he or she feels that you went around him. And so that sucks too. That sucks for the emergency manager, for morale, for getting stuff done. And it goes back to when Eileen said, hey, let's get preparedness as being a gift. Emergency managers that are looking at preparedness, we do, and I'll say very well. I mean, we could always improve, right? But response, we do outstanding, right? We suck at recovery in general, right? I mean,
and
well, yeah, but I'm saying we could pick at each one of those, but I'm saying like everybody's like, "Ooh, response," ooh, and then like you go to recovery and it's so slow and painful to get things done. I mean, we're just now getting like after action reports for some of the larger fires here in California. Paradise is still going through the recovery process, and so how do we streamline that? And I think that's one of the things as emergency managers we can get into and streamline, the recovery, right? Could we work with the cities and reduce or eliminate fees for rebuilding? Not saying that they shouldn't, the code has to be followed, or maybe even increase the code, but the fees that go along with that, but they could be, or cutting that red tape, of getting this stuff done in the inspections and whatnot. So we have to do a better job at that. And so I think adding that to a Christmas list is having an organization that understands that emergency management isn't just about that response phase, and almost to the point to where I think maybe just maybe we start leaning back into the concepts of what civil defense used to be, where it wasn't just about response. It had everything to do with the community coming together to be prepared for that. I don't want to do a name change. I'm not advocating that by any means, excuse me. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, and I agree with that aspect too. And I what I think as far as it goes is, as you said, you relate it back to civil defense. You don't want to do a name change, but ultimately, we do need some type of standardization when it comes to what we're called. I mean, it's different everywhere, I mean, it is different everywhere. There's the Department of Emergency Management, Office of Emergency Services, Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security Emergency Management. It's never the same, and people get confused by that. And there needs to be some sort of, not only in standardization in us as the individual, but in the overall profession, and what we're called, where we're located, who we answer to, what it all needs to be standardized, because there's so much up and down, and level of even the individual, level of the person that's in the position, level of experience, level of education, levels of training that we feel they should have. There's no equal footing.
No, absolutely. And that going beyond that, just the United States, that we have our own issues. But if you go to England, or I don't know if it's the entire UK or just England, they're called emergency planners, and what they're called, that's the same thing as the emergency manager. And then the other thing too is Europe calls it crisis. Crisis is the term, not emergency. So crisis management is the same thing as emergency management. So I mean, not saying that we have to change. Again, I'm not advocating, because if we go through a whole changing of what the nomenclature, it gets confusing. But you're right, some sort of standardization, and I know that FEMA is working on that, and whatnot. But I think we need to embrace that too. But that goes back to standardizing, where that position is, and so going back to the police, fire, and EM, and in EMS, if you will, in some cases where the EMS is not part of the fire department, there is no standardized. Everybody knows, what an EMS, what a paramedic is, what an EMT is. Everybody knows in the fire department what the firefighter does, what the engineer does, right? The police department, they all have their roles and understand what those roles are. But emergency management is kind of all over the board on that. I agree with that. Yes, and Eileen again pops in and says everyone needs to understand that mitigation will help with recovery. And absolutely, absolutely. I think all phases, right? I mean, we have to do all phases well. And that's the other thing too. Going back into the
Merry Christmas, buddy. I see, buddy. Merry Christmas, buddy.
That's the other thing too, is like when we start looking at what we do as emergency managers, if we're only focusing on the response phase, right? And that's the sexy phase, right? That's the one that gets on TV and everything like that. But if we don't do the other phase as well, the response phase is going to fail at some point as well. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes when you see people complaining about the mistakes that are made during the response, it isn't necessarily the response that they're complaining about. I think they're complaining mostly about, if you really take a look at what they're talking about, is trying to get back to being whole again, or at least get back to their property, and start the recovery process, because everybody wants to get back to normal, whatever that normal is or was, and sometimes it's not possible for them to get back to normal. But that's kind of where you start seeing a lot of the complaints about what we do in emergency management and where the failures are. And you're absolutely right, mitigation will help with that process.
Well, I think too. I mean, with fire, you have those the teaching of proper, keeping fire extinguishers, proper maintenance of your smoke detectors, and proper procedures on how to avoid things catching fire or fire spreading. And with law enforcement, you have how to properly protect your belongings, how to properly secure your home. Well, emergency management needs to be in the homes too, and
Yeah.
we need more public education on properly being prepared for an emergency of all different. If you got to jump in your vehicle and leave, being prepared for that. If you got to hunker down because of, say, COVID, for a few weeks, that you're prepared for that. If you have to, that you're always, you keep it. We teach, if you always keep gas in your car, always keep all these things. We need to have that. We need to be in the homes of the citizens as well, not just fire and PD. And keeping a first aid kit, all these other things that they teach and they push into people, and people do because they're being recommended by law enforcement professionals, fire professionals. Well, we need to be at that same level, and we need to raise our standards to that same level. Our level of engagement to the community needs to be at that same level, that we are educating the community on the importance of emergency preparedness and management and mitigation techniques, and how they can best recover from, and completely not being reliant on their local government or federal government. And that's what's happening everywhere. I mean, it's like, well, if we're going to get a check. What if that check doesn't come?
Right.
You know?
Well,
And
Dan, when was the last time that you were invited to an elementary school to talk about emergency preparedness?
I've never been invited to an elementary school, and I've asked.
You
I've
know,
actually,
my daughter's has at her elementary school has had the police department show up a couple times, the fire department show up a couple times, and but she's never said anything about the city emergency manager coming out to her school to talk about preparedness.
nope. And I've actually volunteered to come in, and different levels. When I was in Waco, we had more of those opportunities because I was a city county office. But even as a practitioner at whatever organization you work for, ask to come and talk to your kid's school. Ask to come talk to your kid's class. Put yourself out there. I mean, you've never been invited, but when you ask and you put yourself out there, teach kids how to make kits. Teach kids how to do these things. And we can change we need to change the mindset. We need to change the culture.
Mm-hmm. Eileen says city planners need to understand that they are part of the problem if they do not take potential issues into consideration. Emergency managers need to seat at the table in the zone. Absolutely. And that's I think if you do start a recovery plan, putting that zoning stuff and having those conversations as well, and shame on us too. And I'm going to push those fingers back at us. Sometimes we need to be a little bit more aggressive out there within our cities. Go and reach out to your local Rotary Club and Lions Club and Chamber of Commerces and the schools and let them know that you are an asset for your city, where you're at. I think sometimes we get very comfortable sitting amongst ourselves, talking about what we're doing. But, have we really gone out and knocked on those doors and said, hey, we're here. Here's some programs, especially when you talk about like your cities, when you go out to them and to your Chamber of Commerces, because they're the ones that at the end of the day, when the recovery happens and the tax base happens, the ones who we're going to be working with, and to have that relationship built up prior to an event, we should be doing this. So I have to say, I'll point the fingers back, like this. Shame on us for not being that more aggressive and more out there, because maybe that's what we're doing wrong. Maybe the fire department, is bothering me. Maybe the fire department, will, does a better job at that, because they have the fire prevention, wing of them. Law enforcement has the community groups, the crime prevention groups that go out, McGruff, things like this. Heck, 911 dispatchers have the Ready Fox guy that goes out and does the 911 dispatch stuff, to teach kids how to call 911 and whatnot. The junior paramedic program that was out here in LA County for a while. So those programs are out there to get into the schools, and maybe we should do a better. I'm gonna take the maybe out of there.
We should absolutely do. We must. There's a lot of we should all over the place. We must do these things. Like we can should. I should. We got to quit shoulding all over the place. We must do these things. We must do these things to better our professional life, to better the profession in general, but to also prepare our communities in these to be ready for these situations. We must do these things.
Right. Oh, by the way, to the regulators that are out there that are listening to the podcast, he said should all over the place. Just be clear on that. We're shoulding, not the other thing. So, Joe Bryan, Merry Christmas. Oh, Browning, Merry Christmas to guys. Yeah, no problem. Merry Christmas to you, Joe. Thank you for being here. Hey, we're getting close to the end, and I just I want to say this really quick, and I'll let Dan bring us home when I am done. Everybody, I want to just wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas for those that are celebrating. And seriously, have a great holiday season. I know we're closing up here for the most part. A lot of places are cutting down for a couple weeks here, and the new year is coming in. I do appreciate everything that you guys do out there. I thank you for spending so much time with us over the year. We do have our New Year's show coming up, which we'll be discussing the year in review. If you guys have anything that you'd like to add to that, please reach out to me or to Daniel. You can get me at Todd at emweekly.com or Daniel at emweekly.com. and shoot us an email. Let us know what you think we should talk about for the review of 2020. Daniel, to you, and we'll go home after that.
All right. So just to clarify, the end of the year show will be next Wednesday, not Thursday. So next Wednesday at 9:00, and hopefully we'll go live on time with very little technical problems. I definitely, just thank you to everybody that watches these podcasts and listens to these podcasts and shares our show, but also takes participation. We take participation in the conversation, the comments. It means a lot to us. What you do every day, we've done it, we do it, and we understand it, and we understand the frustrations, and we understand also the successes that go with that. We definitely want to be of help as we prepare for 2021. Reach out to us, as Todd said. Have a Merry Christmas, and we'll be seeing you next year for a Happy New Year.
Don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast player: Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and you get to see Dan's smiling face, though.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you soon.
Merry Christmas.
And subscribe on your favorite podcast player: Android, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora. You name the player, we're on it.
There he is. About time he came on and said
That's
something.
Brian. Yeah.